I think with Leinster, you got to play them a bit at their own game, play them fast and move them around and try and get them uncomfortable and try and get mismatches in midfield is exactly what they try and do against you as opposition.
Leinster turning the screw then when the yellow cards occurred, particularly Jack Conan's 2 tries in that 4-minute period, pretty much were the platform for the victory. And again, this is probably a case of Conan doing something, Brian, which is putting himself very much to the forefront for selection at a time when he's had to fight to try and get in at number 8 on that team.
Yeah, and listen, I saw his article a couple of weeks ago about the illness that he had, and there was uncertainty around where was the lack of energy and an engine that you would have perhaps associated with him in the past. He was coming in and out of games. I suppose that all makes sense a bit now because you look at some of his performances, particularly in the last 6 months. I think he's really elevated his game again, getting way more touches. He's a very destructive ball carrier, but turning up for big moments and lots of scores actually as well. It's very difficult to stop close to the line, but the small little nuances like Porter at the line, what he does rather than picking from the base, taking a step, encouraging in the second defender to make a hit, and then Conan running that sharp line between the second and third defender and leaving Arnold too much work to do to get a good collision against a big ball carrier like him and able to ride out the challenge. Those are small little things that might seem insignificant, but they're huge in the overall scale of trying to get soft shoulders, trying to create space for your big ball carriers, and then the second try. For me, we've seen so much. Jamison Gibson-Park was comfortably player of the match. I thought he was outstanding for his 60 minutes, but we see it quite a lot with him. The attacking of blind sides, and in many cases, Leinster might have what looks like a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-3, and what he does is he whips it across a couple of attackers, and so the knock-on effect is it goes across a couple of defenders too, and all of a sudden a 4-on-3 he turns into a 2-on-1, and Leinster are so good and Ireland are so good at putting them away and then becoming support players as well. And we saw it against, I think it was Bundiaki's try, where in the Italy game where he did something similar, missed the first man, created a 2-on-1, and then the support players flood through and pick up easy scores. But it's really smart intellect from him of understanding, not throwing missed passes for the sake of it, but understanding why he's throwing that wide pass to be able to take unnecessary passes out of the equation. And I think he's a player really, really on the top of his game at the moment is Gibson-Park.
He feels like a number 9 that's perfectly suited to the way that Leinster and Ireland play too, because of the very quick ruck speed that they get. I would say he's not just quick at getting into ruck speed, he's very quick of mind as well, which gives a fantastic platform for those players who are waiting to collect a pass from.
But they're a team that want to play wide. That's where they want to get to. They want to get to the 15, and you have to, that phrase of earning the right to get out wide. Yes, you have to still go through the gut sometimes and tighten the defence up, but then an ability to be able to stick the defence down short and then go out the back to those extremities. And I think the balance of what Leinster and Ireland do extremely well is understanding, when they have to go short and eke out hard yards, and then other times when they've done it a couple of times, show the same picture and going out the back again. To get out wide into those 15 and 5 meter channels out wide where the X Factor players can really kind of express themselves. But I think Gibson-Park, if you look at his pass ratio, we were doing a bit of analysis beforehand, he passes the ball almost 9 out of 10 possessions, which is incredibly high. You look at Dupont, I think he was in around 7 out of 10. He runs a couple of times, obviously kicks a lot for them too, capable of doing it off both feet. But Gibson-Park he's ultimately a guy just to play fast and play with tempo. And I suppose Leinster are never going to be the biggest team in the competition. So what you have to do against opposition is not get into an arm wrestle by playing fast, being in position early, winning the collision space by footwork or by getting in there early, and then being very clinical at the ruck as well with good support play. And no team in the world is capable of defending ruck speed of what we saw at the weekend. I think they averaged 2.8 seconds. Now, to give context, under 2 seconds is a very fast ruck. So if you think about averaging 2.8, considering how long it takes sometimes to set up box kicks as well, to average that over the course of your whole game, it must mean that probably close to 50% of your rucks are 0 to 2 seconds. And you could have 20 people in a defensive line. That's not enough to be able to deal with that level of ruck speed and the front foot ball that they're getting as a result. Time to make decisions means there's less acceleration from the defensive line to come off. And so you're picking your pass a little bit easier. It just has a huge knock-on effect to being able to play what you want to play in your systems and your patterns.
From ruck speed to speed of foot, in Dan Sheehan's case for his try, he's got two backs who are chasing him down, and Sheehan still burns them for pace. Now, he's a good line to run into, but talking to Keith Wood a few weeks ago just about Sheehan as an athlete, that's remarkable for a hooker to be able to break away from 2 or 3 players chasing him down.
Yeah, I think first of all, the reaction to be able to grab the ball coming off Jack Willis's head was a lovely catch in itself. But then it's that transition, the ability to be able to turn defense into attack, getting your body position right to be able to affect a positive collision. Then all of a sudden you're catching the ball above your head, and it's the speed of thought about that transition, the execution of, okay, I've got it in my hand. Where's the space, and how do I use my skill set? So many players that you'd see in the same jersey over the course of the last 10 years wouldn't have that ability to identify where the space is. They'd be looking for a collision. They'd be looking to try and run over someone, whereas immediately he backs his physical capabilities of his acceleration and his footwork, and we've seen it time and again. I was trying to look and see, does he favour that right foot? I think he probably does a little bit, but we'll cut him some slack in not scrutinising it too much because it's such a thing of beauty. But he does chop step off that right foot an awful lot. It's his favourite foot to come from. But having a hooker of that capability as a back, you want them not in a support line, but in the line with you to be able to pass and then feed off and run support lines, because as time goes on, he'll catch people off guard less and less, but he's still grabbing people's attention. God, I didn't realize he had that level of acceleration or that ability to beat people in a phone box. So to accelerate from Dupont and one or two others just shows how much of an athlete he is.
Yeah, I would imagine for the rest of the Leinster team as well, that's an incredible attacking weapon to have when that front row can carry as much ball as effectively as they do.
But if you think about the players that they have out in the extremities, like Conan's a very good guy to have out in the 5 metre channel. Dan Sheehan, a lot of hookers now are being used out in that width as well. As we talked about with the Peter Aki try, it was Movaka that was out in the 5 metre channel. So teams, I think New Zealand probably started it with Dane Coles, who was one of those new breed hookers where an ability to really accelerate and be a ball player, and now that's the modern day hooker. You have to have those capabilities to be able to not just scrummage and throw good darts, but actually play comfortably in the loose and out in those really wide channels. So when you have quality players like Doris and Conan that can play in those 5 metre channels on one side, and Kelleher and Sheehan in the other 5, that you've got some seriously attacking threats, along with multitude of quality backs as well. So that's what makes them such a good unit, is that there's so many threats coming from everywhere. You keep your eye too focused on a Gary Ringrose or a Henshaw or a Charlie Natai or Jordan Larmour, and then all of a sudden they offload to Dan Sheehan and he's gone.
There you go. That was but a taste of the full rugby conversation. As usual, you can get the full chat wherever you get your podcast. It's waiting for you right now.